All right. This morning we're really getting into a series we started a little bit last week, which is about decolonizing the mind. And we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive today into that scripture. But I want to start by saying, if I ask you the question, an astronaut, picture an astronaut. Who do you see? What do you see? When I think of like an astronaut, Ikemba, describe your astronaut. Ikemba is a usual suspect. You understand? 12th. What did you see?
Emmanuel in a helmet and a spacesuit in outer space.
In outer space. What did you see? Elon Musk. You saw Elon Musk. Elon has been trying to go to this interplanetary life. Even what did you see?
I see someone who's going to venture into new territories.
Okay, amazing. But I would ask you the question. I think when you said you saw Elon Musk, I was going somewhere though. 12 did not tell us the color of the person you saw. But truth to God, was he white? You cannot now lie. You know the sequel of imagination? Cover him. I was coming there. No, but guys, when we do this thing, in fact, in the UK, I asked them to draw something. More often than not, 95% of the people in the crowd will draw a white person or will picture a white person as an astronaut. And it's just the way life has been programmed to be, right? Now, the question is, when it comes to setting narrative around excellence and culture, it's not very simple for us to really think of ourselves as that. So today, we want to start this series, but I want you to preclude this entire series by one question. What type of continent would Africa be like if it wasn't colonized? What type of stories would you tell if you were never really colonized? What type of lifestyle if we were never colonized? And I think you hold that picture, hold that question as we move in. We did a bit of it. So we're going to do a case study on the character of the journey of the children of Egypt, leaving now and then coming into the wilderness before the promised land. And so let's look at Exodus 32, 1 to 10. Exodus 32, 1 to 10. Exodus 32, 1 to 10. Let's see if we can read it together. Exodus 32, 1 to 10. So here was their arrival in the wilderness. Moses had taken sort of like a leave of absence, and Moses had gone on to be with the Lord, not in the physical sense. He went on he tarried, and now when the people saw that Moses had delayed coming down from the mountain, the people gathered together to Aaron and said to him, "Come, make us gods that shall go before us. For as for these Moses, the man who brought us out of the land of Egypt, we don't know what has become of him." Next. And Aaron said to them, "Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives and your sons and your daughters." Even their sons wore earrings back in the day. You see what we're talking about here? And bring them to me. Right? Next. So all the people broke off the golden earrings which were in the ears and brought them to Aaron. Aaron went into an industrial stage. He started to fashion it. He received them. He melted. He fashioned it with an engraving tool and made a molding calf. And then he said to this is your God, O Israel, that brought you out of the land of Egypt. Now, he created an idol in the absence of Moses. But interestingly, we spoke about it for a bit last week. The idol that Aaron made was a clone of an Egyptian god called Apis, or Apis. Right? Whether it's Apis or Apis. So, guess what? Their first expression of freedom was a replication of the oppressor. It looked very clear that they left Egypt, but carried Egypt with them. Because the fundamental challenge in many countries today is not about, there is still the physical land called Egypt, but there's the spiritual infrastructure called Egypt. And when you remove people from the land and you don't deconstruct the internal one, you haven't moved very far. And I want to tell you why Africa, we'll be saying Africa's time has come, African rising. But brother, If it is the decolonized mind that is screaming, Africans must rise, be suspicious. He's not going to give you anything new. You give what you have. If your mind is fundamentally shaped and framed by the colonial lens, you would only replicate what you have. So out of Egypt, they are operating with OS from Egypt. Aaron gave them the same idols. And one of the things I really think we should sit with is to understand the colonial patterns and understand why we must talk about decolonizing. Now, I wanted us to do the decolonizing the gospel first, but it gets a little jarring because most Christians haven't been able to separate the layers. But yes, the gospel needs to be decolonized because even our interpretation of the gospel oftentimes is about a white man Jesus, a Western lens, an empire state of the mind. We only landed here because one emperor thought he owned the whole hotel. That's how we landed here now. Right? The man said no church can be close by. But if really you were doing the body of Christ as one, why would you be bothered if another church is meeting upstairs? Shouldn't you be happy? You understand? You should even say, come, let's do joint service. Might be a little loud, but that's okay. But actually, the pastor said, get them out. They were and signed a contract. No church should come near. That's empire state of the mind. So I understand when some people fear that sometimes when a church grows, they replicate the empire model. And I think it's a genuine fear because sometimes we don't do the work of deconstruction. We carry on. It is not enough to leave Egypt. You have to reimagine the new place you're going. And the wilderness becomes a very good training ground. Not many of them made it to the promised land because of their mindsets. So I want us to really sit with the fact that there is something called the Global South today. And I spoke about it a bit. Now, anybody knows the countries in the Global South? Continent, okay, Nigeria. Where else? Regions, South Asia. I think there is Latin America countries, the Caribbeans. Right now, there is something fundamental about the Global South. They never went for the same meeting, but they all behave alike. No, not really. All the Global South, they produce and sell and import. So this is what happens. For instance, I was in a meeting on last week. Benin, they are celebrating that they are now the largest producer of cotton. Is it cotton or cocoa? Exports. You understand? And they were applauding themselves. Now, guess what? They will export the cotton. And then the global north will buy the cotton, manufacture it, and bring it back to them and sell it to them for 10x or 3x. So we celebrate the fact that we produce the most cocoa or we produce the most cotton. But if you produce cassava and you buy... No, Gary is even local. You buy flour. So flour becomes processed and is even more expensive than Gary. So really, what has happened is that we are perpetuating poverty. You know, in New Zealand, in Switzerland, the unemployment rate is 1%. Almost everybody have jobs. They don't have much resources as we do. They don't produce. Most of them don't even have. I don't even know how these guys did it. Africa is one of the most resourced continents. Guys, one of the things I'm now trying to help young people see is that for the last maybe 10 years, a lot of young, smart people jumped into tech. And it's important because tech can help you solve problems. But you see, tech and creative industry, if you're not careful, you're going to spend your entire life there trying to build an industry for which is ahead. And guess what? We were using Silicon Valley model of funding to do tech. And you were using Silicon Valley model of marketing to sell tech. So you clap one unicorn, but between an idea and market is a value of shadow of death of many startups you don't know. So a lot of young, smart people are locked into the ego thing of wanting to raise money and become a CEO, but are not really quite cracking it. Meanwhile, if you turn and go to farm, you are a billionaire in less than 3 years. But it's not cool. Ain't cool. You understand? Before your papa will tell you, say, now farm you won't do after school. So they already have helped you to frame that thinking. So the global south, they have a particular pattern. They sell their IPs, own nothing. They celebrate influence, zero ownership. They are consistently supplying. There is an extraction of their mind that has really happened. So how does it even work that 60 years after colonial end, Africans are still grappling with post-colonial dependence? Say post-colonial dependence. Yes, that is the place. It's actually a very, very subliminal thing. It's a chain in your mind that you don't see. Be more worried about the chains you can't see. So this post-colonial dependence is that they still tend to operate like the colonial masters. The colonialism has moved. We entered neo-colonialism. And from neo-colonialism, we're still grappling with that stuff. But give me the map. I want us to show the Mercator map for a moment. Now, guys, this map, this is the map of the Mercator map. Now, this is the size of Africa, right? And this map, quite interestingly, was created by, I think sometime in 1500s, it was created by an European navigator. And I think in the way they designed this map, we only woke up about 5 years ago to realize that actually this is not the size of Africa. You get? Africa is actually almost 14 times bigger. So guess what? The size of Africa is large enough. You will put Asia inside, it will swallow it. You put America inside, it will swallow it. You put all of Europe with no space, it will swallow it. Like this entire map, you literally was large enough to actually carry it. But guess what? As I'm showing this map to you now, 10 years ago, they discovered that this map was in error. Because some people started to also develop tools. And when they were looking at the equator and the pole, they were realizing that, Africa is large. But you know what they did? Because Africa they gave us a small self-esteem. So they scripted it small. African imagination now became the size of the continent. Do you know that some of these committees, World Bank committees, where Africans have only one seat, would they even beg for seats? Oh, then UN, they just refuse to give us seats. Just for nothing. They just realized that you black men won't be coming. African is catching up. So by the time you sit down here, I'm still saying that you might be surprised in my son's school, they are still studying this map. Because black men don't move very quickly. You start. So ask me as we Sabiana, what are we doing as tribe? Well, that's why we're here. You get? But I really think that we don't, these things are very, very, so by the time they impose this map on your imagination, something is happening to you. So this map was also, by the time they got to the 1885 century, what they did was to now decide how to divide even this contraption. And what they did during they would even merge two rival tribes that refused to be together for protectorate's sake and for colonial administration. They will merge them together. And most of those countries that were merged have refused to stop fighting. Whether it is from DRC, or it is from Biafra agitation, or you're coming all the way to some of these Middle Eastern countries, all these countries, some countries just will not have, like Congo, we have begged them. Please, let's for 1 year have no war in the continent. It's not going to, all them, Sudan and Somalia, you realize that sometimes they carry Christian and Muslim or two tribes that are not and put together because the French flag got there first or the British flag got there first. So I needed to understand how these things work. So by the time you get to this particular place, you realize that this is the one we have discovered and then we are trying to save and jump out of it. But what about the many others that we haven't seen? What about the many things? Because when you go to school, you study British history in a way. I used to hear my cousin, though. He went to King's College. If you went to King's College, let me see your hand. You're loved. You're loved. On their anthem was Long Live the Queen. They are still singing that, you know. No, she was still alive at the time. But the thing is that, how do you keep singing Long Live the Queen? My point is that it was designed, the King's College and the Queen's College, and most of those schools were designed to serve the colonial interest. They were written to make you a colonial servant. Right? That's why it's called civil service. Civil service was actually designed to help you serve the Queen. And the truth is that we cannot continue to blame Pharaoh after we have left Egypt. So you see all these Africans that are saying, 60 years ago, what they did to my papa, repatriation, all of those things. I hear you, but I want us to talk about Aaron. Say Aaron. Yeah. Yeah, before we start, Pharaoh died by the water. Don't forget. He didn't make it out of the sea, I think. Is that Pharaoh literally died at the water. But Aaron is still Pharaoh in disguise. So let's even talk about Aaron. Aaron is actually an Egyptian mind with a black skin, a colonial mind with a black skin. So when the black men took over power, their minds could not really see. You cannot even imagine how the bunch of elites that have actually been created in the last few years, how they think. So these men can do the bidding of the World Trade Organization or the IMF. Do you know part of what devalued our economy was something happened called SAP in the 1980s? Structure, and they know. At that time, brother, a naira and a dollar were dancing together. I would like to think, if I remember this research, they would say that a dollar was equal to a naira or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. So my dad used to tell us that he had like 3 jobs when he graduated, and he wasn't sure which one he wanted to take. And most of them got their first car almost first month. There was Peugeot. Yes, in Nigeria. So at the end of the day, you find that singular policy crippled. They devalued the naira was devalued so that we can borrow loan. Because Aarons like loans. Aarons have no intention. If an Aaron has $1 billion today, Aarons don't invest in Africa. They take it to Dubai. Do you know, it's so weird when you get to places like Dubai, they say, oh, Nigerians own all the houses. Understand? And they return to steal more to go and put there. My point is that shouldn't you be investing in your local economy? But Aaron is not interested in developing an economy because Aaron is actually a visitor. Let me tell you how Aarons think. Aarons would rather send their kids abroad than build your schools. Aaron has no intention of building a good university. Aaron wants his own child to escape and go and study abroad and come back. That's an Aaron thinking. It's not kingdom. Kingdom does not exploit a system for abstraction. It changes it. And if a son does not know who he is, he will enter government and pull an Aaron card. Aaron are people that instead of them to fix a road, they'll buy a Jeep. Only them will just, pew! Meanwhile, you see 7 people pushing. One day, do you know, some guys directed me to a ditch. To tell you that as on Aaron as I was at the time, they say, no, go be coming. And when I fell, they now say, guy is 50K to bring you out. You understand? I said, man, I push. And they push. All of us say, where you go collect money? Was I not going this way? He told me to go this way. So people now came to mediate. And I walked away free man. Because you solved the problem you created. Those guys will have even come at night to dig the ditch. So there is a colonized mindset is not interested in building anything. He wants to cut it away. Do you know it's not even about the elites? Because I'm not anti-elites. I actually think I'm anti-extraction. But there is also the poor colonized man. Do you know how many times they've installed solar or lights in Third Mainland Bridge? You understand? You now have to spend money for security to protect it. Because by night, some people will come and climb and carry it and go home. So those of you that move around at night, you have to keep an eye on these things. You understand? Slow down and say, ole, ole, ole. You understand? Or threaten them because that's actually what it is. So do you know sometimes it's so difficult to drive at night on this Etiosa road? Light will finish halfway. You understand? You now have to be squinting a little bit. You now see 2 lights. And then, but guess what? Some people came at night. Even that iron that they used to protect so that those people trying to kill themselves will not jump. Some people carried it. Are you not indirectly supporting suicide? But it's a colonized mind that will stop communities where people are coming to install power. They will say you must pay to install power. We're doing a partnership with one government institution. Training for digital skills before AI came. Right? Do you know some people wanted to be paid to attend? No, to be paid for your life, to see your life change. You understand? They refuse because in their mind they say you guys should share it. Share that money. So when people, those Aarons, when they are waiting for the first Aaron in front, and they are thinking, Aaron, you're not late. You're destroying the economy. Aaron, it will not be good for you. They will cause it. The day Aaron, you know what they're waiting for? My turn shall come. They're not even interested. So colonized minds tend to exploit. So a colonized mind is not particularly interested in fixing hospitals. He wants to steal enough money to fly himself abroad. Have you ever wondered? Where every time a governor is sick, they said he's recovering in Canada, he's recovering in UK. Some of them will even build hospitals. You realize that they don't trust what they built. And they move. But guys, I need you to understand, it cannot continue like that. See, I saw a video of a lady crying. She was complaining to Trump. They arrested a 14-year-old boy who was, ICE arrested the boy, and the boy was just black. So the woman was crying and talking about the fact that Trump, just give us time, all of us will go home. She should speak for herself anyway. But she took it upon herself to speak for the immigrants and say, give us time, all of us will be going back. At least 1 year, all of us will go back. But my point is, most of them are now realizing that when you get there, some people fought to make that country great. Yeah, so people stood, like if you watch American bloody history, in fact, they lynched each other. And you would think that America is a country. I keep telling you guys, America is actually almost a continent. Because there is something to size. For you to have 54 states, right, that is as big. To go from Los Angeles to Silicon Valley is almost 6 hours drive. And it's one state in California. You're still 6 hours, and roads are good, though. Because if Nigeria is 24 hours to get there, but you understand? But roads are good, but it's still 6 hours. You understand? But that's one state. So, but they realize that we need to be together. Then you now come to Benin. Togo is the local government. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. No offense to anything, because this thing might go somewhere now, and they'll be dragging you. But my point is, or even Benin, you understand? 15 million people. You understand? And you don't have no local market. Do you know the terrible thing has happened to us? If you have a Schengen visa, you can go from Germany to France by train every day. They are connected. Nobody's fighting each other. Then you reach Kenya. Step aside. Yeah. Although now they're saying they're changing. One day they say they changed it. They now introduced another one that is $50 upon arrival. That one was something. I don't know. We just refuse to get it. How do you not? Do you know local tourism is a thing? This year, guys, I want you to visit an African country before you visit Europe. Because now I think there's a thing there you can now move around. You get. So at the end of the day, my point is we have forgotten local tourism. But if you see the population of Africa that is, I know some people that have booked summer. They're on their way. And you're helping that economy. Intra-Africa trade is blocked. First, there is a blocking of the mind before you now start to experience the blocking that is physical. So we need to change that. The way we base our economy, even what we call GDP, is actually even foreign to us. So Aarons don't know how to develop context for the economy. They import context from a foreign land and superimpose it. So we say things, we need African solution for African problems. But the truth is that we also need African capital for African problems. Because I told you guys, a lot of the capital that is coming, most of them don't want to stay too long. 2 years, 3 years, exit, not build. So you and I have a responsibility here at the tribe. Your job is to not just sit down and exist. Kingdom is what? It says the kingdom of God is about heaven coming on earth. Think about it for a second. It's not about dying on earth and going to heaven. That is a colonized man thinking. We're going to get there. The colonized gospel tells you that your job is to die and wait for God. The colonized gospel puts God out of you. Like Aaron, they did it. They invented their God. Every colonized mind has a tendency to invent God in their image. Every colonized mind always creates a God from their captivity and worship it. So guess what? They don't have power because they outsource their power to the idol. It becomes learned helplessness. It becomes learned powerlessness. So you must start to think about the crisis of Africa because Africa's time has come. So I'm not speaking to Africa as an abstract sense. I'm speaking to Africa as you. Let me give you some case studies on how I think the industry in Nigeria has also been limited. Let's talk about film. We have maybe about 100 cinemas across Nigeria for 250 million people plus and counting. Now, think about that 100 cinema, 33 screens, about 303 screens. About just less than, about 1% of our population goes to see a movie. So we celebrate, we crossed 1 billion. We haven't even scratched the surface. How do we have numbers, but the numbers cannot translate into numbers? The numbers don't translate. And the fundamental thing there is, because there is no spread, those 100 cinemas, you might not find anyone in Jigawa. You will not find anyone in Yenegua. Like all those places. But what we should be aiming to do, guys, is to really say, how can we get 20 million people to see a film and pay 1,000 naira? Not 8,000 naira. This 10K, 15K, Lekki, we ole una. You understand? It's not how an economy is built. You understand? Because at the end of the day, you don't design for 1% of the population. Nigeria is downstream. Only 5% have 500K as we speak in their account. That's to tell you, if you take 508K from 500K, it go touch you. It go touch you. So it turns out that we package well as a people, right? It's not that we're rich, but we look rich. Glory to God. No, the black man likes, you will see Owambe and you think that, oh, Africans, enjoy it too much. I wish you know, right? So, but I want one or two people here to give me some examples in your industry for how you see this pattern where we are not coming into production, but we're known more for consumption. We don't necessarily know how to harness our capabilities. Any other industry you see? Jeffrey?
Okay, for me, I would say it's in the tech industry, and this is something I've thought about a long time ago. You see someone wants to start up their IT company or startup, and then, first of all, you need a domain because they must find you somewhere. Where do you buy your domain from? GoDaddy, Namecheap, all of them. You pay in what? Dollars. Then you want to build build the product in itself. You need libraries, you need access to tools, you even need where to, get it across to people. Everything, all the cost, the server cost, the setup cost, everything is in dollars. And it's because we don't have our own local hosting services or storages or servers. So for me, that's something that I've seen happen, and it's going to get worse, especially now in this day and age, because I saw a report that said that Africa or Nigeria has the highest consumption of AI products. But we don't have any AI tools. Even if you want to build the AI tools, we don't even have the data or the large language models of our own to begin with. So for me, that's what I see.
Thank you. All right, so, this thing Jeffrey is saying, the other part of it, Jeffrey, if there is a Nigeria hosting company, you go buy them. Yes. Anyway, you might speak as you, but I'm just wanting to speak as Nigeria.
So, frankly speaking, right? So there are some hosting companies. What they usually do is reseller, like the Hugo host that is now Go54. Then there was one that Domain King bought over, right? And I always use that. There's even host now. Those are the ones I used to use, but then the quality, the service always degrades, and I understand why, but it's sad. And I think I only moved to Hostinger last year when my website got hacked. And I couldn't access my emails. I was like, Apec, I'm done. And I moved. So that's another issue.
Okay, so Jeffrey's point is we're already giving a lot of dollars. I think for the longest time, most of us that wanted to collect money from the US could not even use PayPal. Now they're coming. They've come. But it's actually a little late in the day. So I saw some Nigerians moving emotion. Cancel them. But my point is, at some point, they just blocked us. Like, guys, people have to find crypto ways of collecting money. So, Ben, let me hear you.
So I think mine is the music industry. Apparently, like, we said the last time, the people funding this industry are abroad. There is no IP like that. Our big three, they've leased their catalog. Right? So there's money for their tour. Even the tour, there is a company called Live Nation that is funding the tour. So they don't really own anything, right? And you hear people that are up and coming artists like, you've lost, there's no chance. Because where will Sonny see you? Even our dearly beloved Maven, they've been bought. Do you get what I mean? So we don't really own anything. And the sad thing also, because we are not a streaming economy, if you prioritize, if you stream 1 million streams with, and it's Nigeria that is your streaming, sorry for you, because you might make $2,000. You might make $2,000. And it's a sad thing because it's not stopping any time. Because even our people right now, we appreciate the dollar. Because if you're if your streaming is coming from, you see them, they've moved recently. Nigerian artists, they've moved abroad because they want presence there. That's where the money comes from. They don't even tour in Nigeria. Tour in Nigeria is a chore. Do you get what I mean? It's like, it's 30 December, you come and the tickets are overpriced, and we know back end that nobody's buying that ticket, but it's just a way to clean hello. So, and we know that. So, you see, there's evidence joke. The challenge is, for us that are up and coming artists, we have to literally, there's no hit that is by chance. Every hit you see is engineered. There's a system that guarantees that, and they cannot do it without funding. And the people funding are abroad. So when they come here, they own everything. They are not here, but they are here, right? Last time we said that one of the big five now, right, earns $20 million. But in the music pyramid, the artist is the pawn. You are not, the big money is made abroad. And they will use you, give you $1 million, it looks big. But what they've made on that thing, if you opens your eye, you might quit. So that's a challenge that we are facing.
Interesting.
My own is the scary brain drain. I have about 2 or 3 roles that have taken us about 3 years to close. We've still not closed them because there's just nobody in the market. We've got foreign people trying to help us close those roles. We've got local people trying to help us close those roles. We are trying to close those roles, and we've not seen anybody to give, because all the intelligent, all the special skilled, everybody has gone abroad. So there's nobody that can solve that problem for us, because that problem doesn't need someone remote, it needs someone to work. There's nobody again. So it's the way they are taking time to take our talents and take our future, because one of the criteria for Canada, they are taking them. If they've enticed them away, it's not their fault. Don't worry, when you come, we'll do. And I remember my sister was 50 when she relocated. And I remember the first thing she told me was like, they lied to us. There's nothing here. The promises, but we're already here. They've enticed us out of our country, promising us this and that, but we can't raise children here. We have to come to Nigeria. So it's just the grass is greener effect. But the truth is that they are very deliberate. Canada will tell you, before you come, you must be, if you are 35 and below, higher points. So they are taking your future. They are taking all your future away. They are taking young people. They have global talent. They have global this, and they're just taking away all the intelligence. And that worries us, because we are losing even hospitals. You go to the hospital, it's NYC copper that is treating you, and you have young people, and it's a scary thing that I've seen that is happening now.
So, okay, Martin, I'll take you. But here is the interesting thing. Just to piggyback on what you said, Tiwa Savage actually said the same thing, that you could do 1 million streams in Nigeria and get only $300 or something like that. Guys, who set that formula? No. Guys, it's also, if you talk about YouTube earnings, Africa earning is one of the lowest. And they'll tell us it's due to ad spend. I think before we start talking about ad spend, there is a colonized context in which these things are designed without you in the room. So we don't contribute to how that framework was built. It was built for a context in a different economy. Do you know how they got Nigerians to start paying loan? It was very interesting how they got Nigerians to start paying loan. They put them in clusters. So in one of these loan companies, they gave the money to cooperatives. So there was this shame effect where if you don't pay, the villagers will shout your name. You understand? So people now start paying. You get? And of course, they discovered that 98% of women paid their loans back. The other 2%, they said it was the men that were in their lives that told them not to pay. You get? So, but just to give you guys context, let's talk about 1999. When Obasanjo came into power, I'll tell you what was happening. At this time, most of our oil assets were dominated by oil companies. So you had the Shell, the Ajip, the ExxonMobil, they were running everything. But guess what? We were importing, so they would buy the crude from us, they would take it to their countries, they will refine them in their Mobil refinery, refine them in their Shell refinery, and they will now bring it back and sell it to us. Guys, they did not think of building a refinery here. Any of them at any time could decide, let's set up a refinery here. But it wasn't their thinking because it's not given to others to build your country but you. So at the end of the day, they were cutting away things, and the middle class was just a thin number of people who worked in oil and gas. Then Obasanjo came. Obasanjo replicated something in other economies they had called Local Content Act. And in that Local Content Act, a foreigner cannot just come and open a business in Nigeria. That foreigner had to have a 51, at least have 49%. So if you want to play in the industry, you had to get a Nigerian counterpart and then invest with the person. So you have a 51% ownership and 49%. That was how we opened up a new generation of people who were building in oil and gas. You had companies like Seplat, Century, Sahara, Oando. All those companies came on the back of one single policy that structured it and unlocked it. And today, there are many people that became successful on the back of that. So I need you to understand that Christianity was not about talking about Joseph and Daniel every day you shop. How do you get yourself fixated on a first century reality and not a 21st century Lagos? How do you even wake up and you talk about Joseph? He spoke to the Babylon. Are you okay? You understand? And the point is, Zerubbabel is okay, but who are you doing now? So Joseph literally was a policy mind. Do you know church has nothing to do with religion? The Christianity had nothing to do with religion. It was called ecclesia. Ecclesia was a senate. Ecclesia was this. They were talking like we're talking. How do you move things? Because you're going back to work tomorrow. You will sit in a place where they'll say, suggest something. I hope what Martin is about to say next, you will suggest it and it can move the needle. Yeah. My point is that you were never meant to just come and take religion. Nobody does that. That is what has become of us. We need people that are sons, awaken to their responsibility. How do you sit in a space where they talk about all the doctors are on their way out? Do you know how much Nigerian companies, Nigerian banks are losing to cyber this thing? It is unspoken. We are all living with it because there's not enough talent to fight the. It turns out that the ones who sabi are on the other side. Yeah, they're on the other side. You have to find a way to bring them here. So whether you're doing ethical hacking, you understand? My point is the hacking is relentless. Just before you invent a new mouse, the mouse has gotten smarter. As you invent a new mouse trap, trust me, the mouse know the mouse trap. In fact, that they invent that for you, you might be surprised. The guy that built that your layer of anti this thing is the one that is breaking it. The person that is trying to manage it might say there was an infraction. They attempted to break our walls. So guys, if one policy could change an economic reality in a country, imagine if we could do the same in other sectors. You're not here to hear and go home. Joseph came up with the policy of building foreign reserve or grain reserve in Egypt. Egypt became a world power. What are you doing in that school you are? What is the policy that God is stirring in your heart that you want to bring? Think of Daniel. Daniel literally transitioned an entire city, administration under Nebuchadnezzar. One day he was dreaming, and he had this dream, and in this particular dream, he saw the Persian king stopping prayer. Two things. You know how we interpret it in Nigeria? Prince of Persia. Lift up your hand. Every prince of Persia holding my prayer. Somersault. And we just prayed Prince of Persia. But guess what? God was giving him a code that the new civilization was Persian. God was telling him the next reign was Persian. I don't know how long it took Daniel to see that dream and the fall of Babylon. But what happened was that by the time the Persian king came, guess what? Daniel was speaking Persian to them. When they said tout le monde, le répété, he got look for our hand. So at the end of the day, they were speaking the same language. So Daniel transition, that's innovation. So you have to understand that the sonship spirit we carry is about piercing into the new. Marty, let me take your perspective, then we double down. Because
I think everything we've spoken here is symptomatic of one key area, which is government. And government includes regulation. I don't know, EU has a bit of what Africa does. EU creates nothing, regulates everything. They'll tell you the GDPR. The American companies do the innovation. The EU then puts regulation and fines them. In fact, the EU makes more money from fining American companies than they make taxing their citizens. So their budgets for the year is how many fines are we going to make, right? And we do the same thing in Africa. You do crypto. They pursue all the crypto guys. I think the last time we were in one of the tech conferences, all the crypto boys had their companies in Dubai, right? Because they've been chased away. Now they've put a framework for, running crypto and blockchain type business, but it's 2 billion. It used to be 200 million to do blockchain. SEC puts 2 billion. If I have 2 billion, I won't be sick enough to do startup. right? I'm not a starter. I'll borrow government the money, right? So all these things
Just
you are
put it
saying.
in treasury bills, collect 20% every day, and
Exactly.
live happily ever after.
Yes, so it's not the colonial masters that are being bad to us.
It's the Aarons.
They were not as bad as this. That's why our parents will tell you, when we schooled, we'll use 50 kobo, we'll come back with change. The colonial master was good to them. The black colonial masters are demonic. They are killing, they have killed everything, brought the currency, education. If a doctor is here, he should jackpot. How can you stay here and you don't have enough meal to take home pay can't take you home? You go to where you are appreciated, not where you are tolerated. And the government will be owing you until they have to build road. Oh, really? You've paid yourself salary. You remember you want to build road with my salary.
Okay, so guys, I think what we are trying to do is to open up our minds to seeing how a decolonized mind works, because some of us might be victim in a way that you are an industry that is already bottlenecked. In one of these series, we're going to look at how our electricity is underperforming, the kind of funny things people do. A typical Nigerian man will understand that if you do this, you have light, but he's bringing generator. He has no incentive to solve light problem. So at the end of the day, we're sitting in a situation where you and I cannot afford to play by the same rule books. But let's keep on. So I want you to understand that colonizing did not end with flags, right? The colonial castles remain erected in the minds. So one of the things I want us to really do today is to start looking at the ways we can break that. So yes, in 1960, we celebrated the green, white, green flag. That was when it was invented. It's a Nigerian flag. African got anthems. African started entering parliament. It was still very, very the same thing, right? But at the end of the day, the operating system needs to change. So it's one thing to, the church has discussed sin and deconstructed sin, but the church does not know that when Paul was saying something in Romans 12, verse 2, Paul was talking about deconstructing your mind. See, if you're in tribe, you have to be intelligent too. Nobody should come and tell me they were gigging out, or this is too elitist. Learn. Your mind should never remain underdeveloped. It is to your peril that your mind is not developed. No society rules by revival. Revival is after the Holy Spirit don't move you. You're meant to move things. So you cannot fall and roll on the ground and come again next week, you fall and roll on the ground. And next week, say, let's pray and move down for fire. No. The only thing, trust me, your greatest deliverance is a change of perception. Some of you here, the message you need to hear is that you are capable. That's all you need to know today. Take the next step. Don't talk yourself out of any opportunities. I love some guys at the tribe. They were doing some crazy things. We're even going into agriculture. Maybe if I just realized, somebody told me the numbers, and I'm not greedy. But somebody said, see, this is what Agric is doing. PM was talking about pig. That pig have about 40% ROI. You understand? Now, I do investment. No investment vehicle gives you that. You understand? Except you do the one that your money will not come back. You understand? But in terms of standard investment vehicle, no one gives you anything 40%. But the truth is that, what does it stop you from having pigs? It doesn't just look cool. So we've been colonized in the way that we don't even understand value. If you look at all those industries that look stressful, Nigerian money deal. So I have told you, Tech Lagos, you can gather all in moonshots for all you like. You ain't no moon shooting anytime soon if you don't understand the nature of your economy. Because every time I go to moonshot, it's about fintech. Everybody fintech. What's a fintech? We do plantain API. Okay, what about you? Like, you be thinking, my brother. No, do you know, even me as I'm living that fit, that's what I say, where did this thing they solve now? Yes, like, I can't even tell you. Some of them, they've told me these products. That's what are you solving? They will explain it. I go forget them as I talk because I don't really see it. So the truth is that everybody's caught up in that. And even that thing, Nigerians are scamming it. So we have to be careful because they already now know that some Nigerian CEOs or founders have no intention of succeeding. It is race over revenue. They race for 2 years and say, we tried our best, Africa is hard. And 3 million down the drain. You understand? And then guess what? Some genuine CEOs are looking to raise 500K. They spoil the road. You understand? And then some of them will go and or they'll use the money and Japan, go to Canada and start and say they want to solve for African markets. You dare Africa, you not make them. Now when you dare Canada, you go make them. You get, like, how does it even work in your mind? See, guys, there is so much opportunity here in Africa. We have no business going to watch old people. Yeah, sorry, in America. Like, sorry, I just had to drop it because it was coming out. No, like, all this care work, it's good to care. But brother, even like, trust me, some of these people are racist. As you ever take care of them, they say, you're going to go back to your country. Like, you get, trust me, have some dignity. You understand? My point is, if you do not see your country, you will. The other people are seeing it. Doesn't it worry you that the Lebanese people will look into Nigeria and they say the opportunities? We are complaining about traffic, they are seeing subscribers. They are complaining about traffic, they are seeing markets. Colonized minds cannot see opportunities. They do that, they see more problems than opportunity. Okay, guys, I have a few things I want us to get through. So if we talk about the global south, we've analyzed it, it's all happening across. But it turns out that at the end of the day, the greatest challenge of the 21st century Christian is that the mental program remains uninstalled. Your program has to move from scarcity to abundance, have to move from competition to collaboration, have to move from consumption to creation. We consume everything, produce nothing. Even toothpick. That one here, if we decide today that we're starting a toothpick industry, you'll be surprised what can come out of it. There are many things in the value chain, in petrochemicals, processing things that you can actually do that. So you have no business waiting for a job if a job has not come. Can you dust your CV? Use the brain that God gave you. Do some research. Look for a low-hanging fruit and enter. You know, Wale Tinubu shook me when he said, there are some young guys in their late 20s and early 30s. They just found one opportunity in oil and gas. They're just supplying pipe. And they do $3 to $5 million every year. Supplying pipe. You're sitting down there doing Twitter warrior. So at the end of the day, you have to wake up. This is not church as usual. I have no intention to do church as usual. You will not come and sit down here and I say, lift up holy hands, close your eyes. Say, Lord, fill me, Lord. He filled you last year. What are you doing with the feeling? Just that. You'll be filled, fill my cup. Brother, make your mind feel too. Yes, sir. You've been feeling too much of love. Okay, let me give you a few things here. So I really think the greatest challenge in the African mind is a colonized imagination. If our imagination cannot see, we have lost the war. But I want us to do the next case study I want us to look at is the story of the 12 spies. And interestingly, that's where we're going to land. The 12 spies was actually Numbers, I think Numbers 13. If you can give me that, Numbers 13. Before we do that, I wrote a few things about Aaron, and I said, this is what I want you guys to keep in mind, that Aaron is actually the black man who has found an advantage in a system that is corrupt. A nation cannot rise when its leadership class exits emotionally, even when they remain physically present. It's almost like your government is detached or your leaders are detached. Our leaders have not been fully weaned of the colonial mindset. So how do we go from there? You have African faces, African accents, African flags, but betraying yourself and your purpose. Have you seen some of the contracts our people are signing? It's almost like they have no intention to live in this country. You sign an entire country, giving off your resources, everything. And that countries, you can't even try it. Some of those countries, you can't enter. See, when you enter these accessory markets, the Chinese are coming every day, flooding the market, but you can't do that in China. Their barrier to entry is very tough. You have to come through a local partner. But people are losing jobs every day because we don't have understanding. And I believe in union, but I also believe that every gospel is contextual. The first thing first, God does not call you alone. Every time God speaks to us in the context of nation. Don't forget, he said, Abraham, I will make you a nation, I will make you a great nation. So if you think that your success is only about you, you are colonized. A colonized mindset is about that atomized individual success. That personal success has to be tied to a larger success story. So you don't exist for you. You and I, God gave you gifts because Africa needs to rise. The reason you think the way you do is because Africa needs you to be that way. The way I am disruptive, and I'm the only person that can be weaving some of these things on a Sunday morning in Lagos, God has brought you here. We're together. But guess what? We all are needed. So we're transforming the tribe into a college. We're trying to get a space downstairs. And part of it is that we're launching a school about teaching you the principles of wealth creation, building a home that can work, building a life, right? And not just depending on things around you. So I spoke about Aaron the Uncle Tom. You know, the slavery, they have Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom is that slave master that is loyal to the white man. Say, I go tell them, say, now they gossip them. You understand? Like, just telling on these people, you get. That's actually how some of them are. So at the end of the day, it's what we call neo-colonial agents. They just look at the country. I have a few examples here. Many of these people enjoy the bureaucracies. For instance, you cannot believe some of these bank MDs were going to lobby to kill fintech. Are they okay? Like, are you okay? Am I asking the wrong question? Like, how do you just wake up and then former CBN guy was playing the bidding, trying to stifle fintech. Do you know how many Nigerians are employed because fintech exists? They want to kill them because some men say those boys are coming too fast. We don't know where they're coming from. Improve your technology. Compete on innovation. Don't use draconian policies and kill. They drove all the crypto boys with EFCC. No, the truth is that some crypto things were dark. But it wasn't all black. Learn to throw away the baby, the bathwater, and keep the baby. You don't just sit down and say, everybody shut down first. Shut down first. Do you know how much investment will be lost? They created investment treasures. Foreign direct investment started to fly out. People couldn't trust again. You literally created a crisis in your country because of some old men that are on their way out. So at the end of the day, no country thrives like that. It is on us to transform this. Take an industry, brother. Take an industry. You do not just exist. If you're in that industry, don't be a colonized mind. A colonized mind lives in an estate. It doesn't go for estate meeting. A colonized mind is not interested in anything other than himself. He wants to live on self-preservation, just the minimum comfort. That is not how the kingdom works. The kingdom is about bringing heaven on earth. It's not about containing with the chaos. It's not about sitting with the crisis. It's about transforming that situation. You get? Tell your neighbor, I'm an answer. I'm not part of the problem. So yeah, I think one of that example I want to give you guys is Numbers 13, the 12 spies. Interesting about the 12 spies, in Numbers 13:26, they said, we saw the giants and we seemed like grasshopper in our own eyes, and we looked at the same to them. So it's always the case where some people can never buy anything local. Guys, it actually comes from this place. You look at it, you might say, okay, they are the giants, we are the grasshopper. Everything foreign is good to you. Wear Abba and be proud. But Abba, you better get it right. You understand? So that we know that we are on the same page. Because if you wear something that tears, we are now back at one. So we are talking to those who are on the production side. But guys, guess what? Back in the 1960s, I'll give you 2 countries. Chinese was not a very trusted brand. Actually, if they call you Chinko, you are poor. Like, yeah, nobody wants to wear Chinko anything. But guess what? They launched something called creative imitation or reverse engineering. And it was a very interesting thing they did. They would send their guys to go to the US and study a particular innovation. These guys would come back to America. They would unpack it and start to learn. Everything they were learning, they were bringing the R&D. They would go. Our government did it in 1980. Guess how many people came back? They didn't get the picture. They were colonized. So you send a colonized man to go and learn and come back. He doesn't come back. You understand? And those people, the old government, because if some of them came back and started to build industries, we don't produce jack. You don't produce nothing. See, even Morocco now, they're producing automobile cars. So all this new policy, if you're setting up an EV car in Nigeria, you better assemble here. Don't go and be bringing the EV cars somewhere. Come and assemble here. We want to see you do it. Nigerians should use AI and EV cars to step up. So we need new policy direction. When a Chinese man is investing, a Chinese man has no intention, right, of his own investment thesis is China first. Nigeria has no investment direction. We sign anything. Guys, I stopped reading some of the contracts because it was riling me up. I know until I say, you love Nigerian pass. So you have to calm down. Because at the end of the day, it happened to you in Nigeria, okay. You know? But my point is that, you see, I remember there was a former minister that signed the contract with Real, and people were talking about, why are you signing this kind of contract? I said, don't say it, or China will hear. But my point is that, do you even think they sign as though they're on their way? Nothing is for them. So we need to free that thinking. Now, guys, these 12 spies, for me, I really want us to sit with them and realize what is different between the 10 and the 2. And I want us to land on the 2. The 2 guys were Caleb and Joshua. And the Bible says they were of what? A different spirit. And what was different between Caleb and Joshua? Others saw the challenges, they saw the opportunity. Others saw themselves as inferior and their enemy as big. They saw it the other way around. And God said, Caleb, you guys, your generation will inherit the land. The inheritance belongs to sons who can see. First thing you must shift is from inferiority to identity. Say from inferiority to identity. Say, I'm born of God. I'm made of God. I carry God. See, this thing I'm telling you, you know how we are saying it at the tribe? You and God is not different. It's just volume. It's not different, though. It's just a case of volume. You're a drop of the ocean. But everything that the ocean is, you are in the drop. Speak life. Imagine the possibilities. That's why God told them that nothing is impossible to man, that which they have imagined to do.